Hello folks, I'm here with the MGHS today. This is the 1.5 litre petrol turbo with the dual clutch automatic gearbox. This one's in trophy spec and you can get one of these for 27.5 grand, which I think is breathtaking. They actually start from just under 25 grand, although that is the SE spec that comes with the manual gearbox. The SE though has got pretty much everything that most people are going to want. You've got the big 12.5-inch screen in it, you've got LED headlights, it's keyless, it's got plenty going for it. But you go up to trophy and there are a few other little niceties. This one gives you 9.9 second 0 to 62 time, 162 PS of power, 184 foot-pound of torque, and it can tow 1,500 kilos or 1.5 tonne in old money. Now there's also a plug-in hybrid version of the car available that gives you an extra 250 kilo towing capacity. That starts at 31.5 grand, gives you 307 horsepower, a 0 to 62 time of 6.8 seconds. It's got a WLTP all-electric range figure of 75 miles, which is massively impressive, and puts out 129 grams per kilometre of CO2, which might mean that it's actually a viable option for some company car drivers. You get these 19-inch wheels as standard, and although the design's perhaps a tad generic, there are some nice little touches, like I think maybe a tip of the hat to the Jaguar F-Pace up here. What do you think? We've got a 507 litre boot with a parcel cover. There is a completely flat floor, but under here is a huge chunking bit of polystyrene. If you take that out, there's so much more space under there. And the reason for that is whether you go for this petrol version or indeed go for the plug-in hybrid, you get the same 507 litre boot. That's a bit of a plus point because lots of PHEVs lose a lot of boot space because of the batteries. They've done it the other way around on this, and they've just put a big chunk of polystyrene in where the batteries might otherwise sit. 507 litres, nice big square opening, loads of space, loads of room, brilliant. So onto the interior, and this is one area where you might think the car's about to let itself down, and it just doesn't. The build quality in here and the choice of materials belies the price tag. It really does. Not only that, I think I've been in cars that probably cost £10,000 more than this one that don't feel as well put together, and the materials don't feel as premium as they do in here. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is not a Genesis we're getting into, you know, it's not a Bentley rival. It's a £25,000 SUV, but it feels much, much more than that. It feels like it's competing in the category above when it comes to the interior. Now, there are some annoyances in here. We've got some piano black, which regular viewers will know I'm not a fan of at all. And we don't have many physical buttons and dials, you know, everything's in the screen. However, the fact they've put everything in the screen is annoying, but they have actually put the important things on the home screen. So you've got your climate control there, easily accessible on the home screen, and you've got links to your music, your navigation, weather, and your Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all right there. So I've certainly seen far worse infotainment systems than this one, and sort of physical buttonless systems, is that a thing, implemented far worse than they are in here. The driver information display's great. Both screens are nice and bright, really colourful. Unlike me, they're both over 12 inches and do the job really well. Down here we've got a couple of USB-A connectors. You do still need to be plugged in to use Apple CarPlay. I can't test Android Auto, but I'm assuming that's going to be the same. You've got your 12-volt socket there, a double cup holder, and then a proper little gear shifter. No silly little switch things. We've got proper gear selector, and that's nice. And then we've got a wireless charging pad down here, leather armrest or leatherette, and a little cubby under there. All good so far. Steering wheel's lovely. You've got square top and bottom, but rounded at the sides. It feels really nice underhand. And again, the material they've used feels nice and premium. Feels really solid, this steering wheel, and really well screwed together. We've got some buttons and some little joysticky things. Actually, they do the job well. No complaints with that whatsoever. And the voice commands are not too bad. You will see some shortcut buttons on here, which you can customise to have pretty much any feature you choose. Aside from the fact that it could just be me, but I haven't been able to get them to turn off any of the driver assistance features. So if you want to turn those off, you need to dive through the menu, and I will talk more about those in the test drive section. Now, in some MGs of yore, I've had the lane keep assist occasionally try and murder me by putting me in the wrong lane. It hasn't happened in this one at all. Like, not once has it tried to kill me. So that's always a good thing if your car's not trying to kill you, so thumbs up on that one. The seats in this one are really comfortable. In this trophy model, they're also powered, and you've also got an electrically controlled lumbar support, which is quite decent. I do seem to remember the previous HS had like exceptionally good seats, and these are very good, but perhaps not exceptional in any way. All in all, folks, this cabin is an absolute triumph. It's not an MG, it's a Triumph. They've just hit the nail on the head. You know, I think they've spent the money where it needs to be spent and haven't done anything daft with it. It just feels good. I'd love a few more buttons, and I'd love a little dial for the stereo, and I'd love a little dial for the aircon system, but manufacturers don't seem to be doing dials anymore, and at least the way they've integrated it is workable, if not a tiny bit frustrating at times. I think it's a really, really well put together front cabin. In the back, we've got tons of leg room and loads of foot room. Not only is there ample room underneath the front seats to put your feet, which has become a little bit of a rarity in most modern cars, but there's loads of knee room. I'm about 5'9½", and this is in my driving position, and I've got that. That's not too bad, is it? Also, not bad headroom. You could easily be in here at over 6 foot without any troubles. Central armrest was lovely in the old HS, and I think it's pretty lovely in this one, although we've got piano black around the cup holders, and the cup holders feel a little bit odd, but it's a really nice sort of spongy central armrest. You've got a couple of USB sockets under here, nothing too flash, and a couple of air vents. Wee bit dark in here, we don't have a sunroof, and of course we've got privacy glass in this model, but all in all, you'll be easily able to do long journeys in this, I would say, with 3 adults in the back as well. There's also a little bit of storage at the back of the front seat there, and a fairly small door cubby. Really well done again, it's nice. So once you get behind the wheel, you'll realise quite quickly that it's all quite a sedate affair. The engine, I think, is pokey enough, but it has to be worked reasonably hard if you want to make very swift progress, particularly when you're already at speed. Around town, to be fair, it's completely fine, just under 10 seconds to 62, which is not terrible. But when you get out on the open road, you're maybe travelling at 60 miles an hour and you want to do an overtake, you are going to have to work the engine quite hard. Aside from that, it's a really nice, easy thing to live with. The automatic gearbox works well. It's a dual clutch transmission in this, and it works really well. There's the odd time it's a little bit slow on the uptake, but I've driven far worse, if I'm completely honest. The other thing you'll find is that the suspension's very soft, so that's great for soaking up really harsh chunks out of the road and going over speed bumps and all those kind of things that can sometimes leave you a little bit battered and bruised in some cars. But it does mean it's a little bit wallowy, and sometimes, you know, it feels like a bit floaty almost, a little bit boaty. These are minor gripes, and I have to say, you know, I drive so many cars every year that I pick up on all these slight little imperfections and differences in quirks in cars, and it could well be that you get in the car and it feels completely normal. So it's not jarring in any way, it's just something to be aware of. The other slight downside on this car, or some will see it as a major downside, is the fuel efficiency, because the car's got a WLTP figure of 37 mpg, which by today's standards is a bit rubbish, but it is a big car, and we have to remember that. And there's no hybrid technology in this one, it's just a petrol car. There will be a standard hybrid coming soon, and there is also the plug-in hybrid option that I think I've already touched on in the video. If MPG is king for you and economy is king for you, maybe take a look at that, although of course you're going to have to pay a bit more to get yourself into one of those in the first place. All in all, it's a really nice car to drive, and it's well insulated. And the overall feel of this car is that you're in one that's far more premium than the price tag suggests. This really does compete well against things like the Qashqai, which is always one of the most popular cars in the UK. And this is significantly cheaper than a Qashqai, and it comes absolutely loaded with kit. So really, I think some of the other manufacturers, some of the legacy manufacturers, have a bit of a job to do here, because MG have put out a very compelling car. I have to mention as well, folks, one area where the car is let down is with the integration of the various driver safety features, warnings, etc. Now, you know, they're there for a reason, and evidently they make the road safer for everyone. Got nothing against that, but some manufacturers integrate them far better than others. And the irony's not lost on me that over here I've got a little camera watching to make sure that I stay alert and focused on the road in front and not distracted by anything. And then over here, if I want to change the aircon, I've got to use the screen. Don't get me wrong, the way that they've got everything on the home screen does work fairly well, but I don't know, this transition away from physical buttons and dials and onto screen-based systems doesn't sit particularly well with something that watches you to make sure you're not distracted, and then goes off like a klaxon if you are. But that's probably a wider comment on the car industry. That's not a fault of the MGHS. What is a fault of the MGHS, in my eyes, is the fact that some other manufacturers have made their systems just a little bit softer, so they're not quite as in your face when they're going off. They're perhaps not quite so sensitive, and because of those reasons, I think you're more likely to leave them on than you are in this car. And surely these things are better when they're on than when they're switched off. And what's even more impressive about this brand new £25,000 SUV is that MG gives you a 7-year, 80,000 mile warranty with it. And I'm sure that will give lots of peace of mind, particularly to people that are new to the brand and they're perhaps concerned about reliability. I think a 7-year warranty at 80,000 miles is more than competitive, particularly when you look at so many legacy manufacturers that still give in 3-year, 60,000 mile warranties. I think MG should be commended for having a bit of faith in their product. So yes, folks, there are undoubtedly sexier mid-size SUVs out there in the market. There are undoubtedly mid-size SUVs that are a bit sportier to drive or deliver better MPG. But what MG has done here is put together a really compelling package. It's a great car in almost every area, with a couple of little things that could be slightly better, but the price point is breathtaking. The build quality on this car is superb. I mean, you go around and look at the panel gaps and they are absolutely dead straight all the way around. The quality of the interior is brilliant. Honestly, far better than some rivals that are £10,000 more than this car. Don't get me wrong, if you compare this to a car that costs 50 grand, literally twice as much, it's probably not going to compete in some areas. But in the ballpark in which this car plays, there's nothing that can really touch it. It's really great value for money, and that's what this car's all about. It's really great value for money that still feels like a premium product. It's very well done. Folks, if you'd like to lease one of these, click the link in the video description and it will take you straight to all the latest lease deals available on this particular car at the time you click. And folks, if you've enjoyed this review, please click the thumbs up, please subscribe to my channel, and please come back for more. My reviews are not always the most professional, and they're not the best shot things in the world, but they're always honest. And I think there's still a place in this world for a bit of honesty, is there not? Thanks for watching. See you soon. Huge thanks to all my channel members for your continued support. I really do appreciate it.